Could a penny you've seen hundreds of times be hiding unexpected value? Today on Change Your Life, we're exploring 3 Lincoln pennies that collectors still keep an eye on. 2007 Lincoln penny. 1999 Lincoln penny, no mint mark. 1989 Lincoln penny, no mint mark. They may look like ordinary, worn-out pennies from everyday circulation, but some examples contain rare mint errors, collectible varieties, and valuable details that most people never notice. That's why coin hunters always check their change before spending it. Take a closer look at your pennies, because one small coin could be worth much more than its face value. Let's dive into coin number 1. Have you ever picked up a penny without even looking at the date? Most people do. The coin goes into a pocket, a wallet, a jar on a kitchen shelf, and eventually it disappears into everyday life. Forgotten, ignored, almost invisible. But what if one of those pennies has been traveling for decades, passing through thousands of hands, collecting stories that nobody ever noticed? Today, our story begins with the 2007 Lincoln Memorial Penny. A coin that millions of people have seen, millions have spent, and almost nobody remembers. At first glance, there is nothing extraordinary about it. The familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln appears on the front. The Lincoln Memorial stands on the reverse. The coin is small, lightweight, ordinary. Exactly the kind of coin most people would overlook without a second thought. And yet that is where the mystery begins. Because the most interesting coins are rarely the ones people expect. Imagine the moment this penny left the Denver Mint in 2007. Its surfaces were bright. Its details were sharp. Everything about it looked new. For a brief moment, it was perfect. Then the journey started. Maybe it entered circulation through a local bank. Maybe it was handed out as change at a grocery store. Maybe it traveled hundreds of miles before the first scratch ever appeared. Nobody knows. And that uncertainty is what makes coins fascinating. Every mark on a circulated coin represents a moment in its journey. Every worn edge tells a story. Every faded detail suggests years of movement through the economy. Think about that for a second. A tiny piece of metal moving silently through America for years. Crossing cities. Crossing states. Changing hands over and over again. Yet nobody stops to ask where it has been. Most people only see 1 cent. Collectors see something completely different. They see history. They see survival. They see a coin that has witnessed countless ordinary moments. And that is why the 2007 Lincoln penny continues to attract attention from people who enjoy searching through change. Not because every example is rare. Not because every coin is worth a fortune. But because every coin carries possibility. Possibility creates curiosity. And curiosity keeps collectors looking. Now imagine opening an old coin jar that has not been touched for years. Dust covers the lid. The coins inside are dark and worn. At first, everything looks the same. But then you notice a date. 2007. You pull the coin closer. Suddenly, something that seemed ordinary becomes interesting. Where did it come from? How long has it been sitting here? How many people owned it before you? Questions like these are what transform coin collecting from a hobby into an adventure. Because every coin has a past. Even when nobody knows exactly what that past is. And sometimes the unknown parts are the most exciting. The 2007 penny belongs to a generation of coins that entered circulation during a very different time. Back then, cash transactions were still everywhere. Coins moved constantly. People carried change every day. A single penny could travel through dozens of businesses in just a few months. That movement never stopped. Year after year. Transaction after transaction. Until eventually the coin became worn from use. Its bright surfaces faded. Its original shine disappeared. And the coin developed character. Many people call that damage. Collectors often see it differently. Because where is evidence? Evidence that the coin fulfilled its purpose. Evidence that it survived. Evidence that it remained part of everyday life instead of being forgotten in storage. That perspective changes everything. Suddenly, a dirty penny is not just a dirty penny. It becomes a witness to history. A silent traveler carrying years of unseen experiences. And that is what makes the 2007 Lincoln Memorial penny so interesting. Not because it looks impressive. Not because it stands out immediately. But because it proves that ordinary objects often hide extraordinary journeys. The truth is, millions of people have probably held this coin without ever noticing it. They spent it. Dropped it. Lost it. Found it again. And moved on. But collectors do something different. They pause. They look closer. And sometimes that simple act reveals a story hiding in plain sight. So before we move to the next penny in this series, remember this. The most overlooked coins are often the ones with the most fascinating journeys. And the 2007 Lincoln Memorial penny is a perfect example of that idea. Because long before it reached your hands, it was already carrying a story. Now let's move to the second coin in this story. The 1999 Lincoln Memorial penny. At first, it feels like a completely different coin. A different year. A different moment in history. A different chapter. But the strange thing is that most people still treat it exactly the same way. They spend it. Ignore it. And never look back. Yet the longer you study coins, the more you realize that dates matter. Because every date represents a specific moment frozen in metal. And 1999 was one of those years that people still remember. The world was preparing for a new millennium. Technology was changing rapidly. The internet was becoming more common. Everything seemed to be moving toward a brand new era. And right in the middle of that transition, millions of Lincoln pennies quietly entered circulation. Nobody celebrated them. Nobody lined up to see them. They simply became part of daily life. And maybe that is exactly what makes them interesting today. Because while people were focused on major events, these small coins were beginning journeys of their own. Imagine receiving a brand new 1999 penny as change during its first year of circulation. It shines. The details are sharp. Everything looks fresh. At that moment, nobody knows where the coin will end up. Maybe it stays in circulation for years. Maybe it gets stored away. Maybe it disappears into a forgotten collection. The possibilities are endless. And that uncertainty creates curiosity. Now think about how much can happen in a single decade. People move. Businesses open and close. Technology evolves. Entire generations grow older. Yet some coins continue circulating through all of it. That is what makes the 1999 Lincoln penny fascinating. It has survived years of change. Not just physical change. Historical change. Economic change. Cultural change. All while remaining one of the smallest pieces of currency in circulation. Most people never think about that. They see a penny and assume it is insignificant. But when you step back and view it differently, the picture changes. Because a coin is one of the few objects designed to move constantly. Unlike books that sit on shelves. Unlike photographs stored in albums. Unlike souvenirs displayed in cabinets. Coins travel. They move endlessly. And every movement becomes part of their story. That is why collectors often spend hours examining coins that others ignore. They are searching for clues. Not just about the coin itself, but about the journey it may have taken. The 1999 penny is especially interesting because it sits between generations. Old enough to feel historic, yet modern enough to seem familiar. It occupies a unique space where many people remember using it regularly, but few remember paying attention to it. And that creates an unusual kind of mystery. A mystery hiding in plain sight. Now imagine finding a worn 1999 penny today. Its shine is gone. The surface carries marks from years of use. The edges show signs of countless transactions. To some people, it looks damaged. To others, it looks experienced. Every scratch becomes evidence that the coin lived the life it was designed to live. And there is something strangely fascinating about that. Because unlike objects kept safe behind glass, circulated coins interact with the real world. They participate in everyday history. One purchase at a time. One transaction at a time. One small moment after another. That is why many collectors enjoy searching through ordinary change. Not because they expect every coin to be extraordinary, but because they know every coin has a story. Sometimes that story is obvious. Sometimes it is hidden. And sometimes it takes patience to see. The 1999 Lincoln Memorial penny reminds us that history is not always dramatic. Sometimes history is quiet. Sometimes it fits in your hand. Sometimes it looks exactly like a coin you almost spent without noticing. And that is what makes this penny worth talking about. Not because it demands attention, but because it quietly earns it. So before we move to the final coin in this series, ask yourself one question. How many times have you handled a penny without ever looking at the date? The answer is probably more than you can count. And that means countless stories may have passed through your hands without you ever realizing it. But our journey is not over yet. Because the final penny might be the most overlooked of them all. And now we arrive at the final coin of this story. The 1989 Lincoln Memorial penny. A coin that has been around long enough to witness an incredible amount of change. Long enough to outlive trends. Long enough to survive entire eras. And long enough for many people to forget just how old it really is. That is the strange thing about coins. The longer they stay in circulation, the more invisible they become. People stop noticing them. They become part of the background. Just another penny. Just another piece of change. Just another coin tossed into a jar. But the 1989 penny carries something that newer coins cannot. Time. Lots of it. Think about this for a moment. When this penny first entered circulation, the world looked very different. Many of today's technologies did not exist. Many businesses that dominate modern life had not yet become household names. Millions of people who use digital payments today were still paying with cash every single day. And through all those years, some of these pennies continued moving from hand to hand. Quietly. Patiently. Without attracting attention. That journey alone makes the coin fascinating. Imagine the number of places one 1989 penny may have visited. Small-town grocery stores. Busy city streets. Gas stations. Restaurants. Flea markets. Local fairs. Maybe even places that no longer exist today. The coin remained. The world changed around it. That contrast creates a powerful story. Because coins are survivors. Most objects wear out and disappear. Many are thrown away. Others break. Some are forgotten forever. Yet coins often continue moving through the economy decade after decade. That durability is part of what makes collecting so enjoyable. Every coin becomes a small time capsule. Not sealed away in a museum, but hidden in plain sight. The 1989 Lincoln Memorial penny represents that idea perfectly. Its age immediately creates questions. Where has it been? Who carried it? How many pockets has it traveled through? How many cash registers has it touched? No one can answer those questions. And that mystery is exactly what keeps collectors interested. Because every unanswered question creates curiosity. And curiosity drives discovery. Now picture yourself sorting through a pile of old change. Most of the coins look ordinary. Nothing seems unusual. Then suddenly a date catches your eye. 1989. For a second, everything slows down. Not because the coin looks different, but because the date feels different. Older. More distant. More connected to another time. That emotional reaction is something collectors understand very well. Sometimes the value of a coin is not about money. Sometimes it is about connection. Connection to history. Connection to the past. Connection to moments that existed long before the coin reached your hands. The Lincoln Memorial reverse design adds another layer to that story. For decades, Americans recognized that familiar image immediately. Generation after generation carried these coins. Used them. Saved them. Lost them. Found them again. The design became part of everyday life. And the 1989 penny remains one of the many survivors from that era. What makes this even more interesting is that heavily circulated coins often reveal their journeys visually. The shine fades. The details soften. The surfaces become marked by years of use. Every mark represents interaction. Every worn area represents time. Every imperfection represents experience. Some people see damage. Collectors often see character. And character is something no mint can manufacture. It only develops through years of real-world use. That is why searching through old pennies never completely loses its appeal. Because every coin offers a possibility. Not a guarantee. A possibility. The possibility of discovering something interesting. The possibility of uncovering a forgotten piece of history. The possibility of seeing an ordinary object in a completely different way. And that brings us to the bigger lesson behind all three pennies we explored today. The 2007D. The 1999. And the 1989. None of them demand attention. None of them announce themselves. None of them look extraordinary at first glance. Yet each one carries a story. A journey. A history hidden beneath years of circulation. Most people will never notice. They will spend the coin and move on. But collectors know something important. The most interesting discoveries often begin with the smallest details. A date. A design. A worn surface. A second look. So the next time a penny appears in your change, do not rush to ignore it. Pause for a moment. Look closer. Because sometimes the most ordinary coin in your hand has already traveled through decades of history before reaching you. And that simple thought is what makes coin collecting such a fascinating adventure. One coin. One date. One forgotten story at a time.